From 1989 to 1995, Nurse Kristen Gilbert murdered 4 of her patients at the Veterans Affairs Medical Center in Massachusetts, and she's suspected of killing dozens more. On Mind of a Monster, a podcast from ID, criminal psychologist Dr. Michelle Ward dives into Kristen Gilbert's twisted mind to try and find out why she killed her patients and how she was able to do it in front of her colleagues. She speaks with detectives, journalists, nurses, and victims' families to unpack Gilbert's life and crimes on Ward C. Listen to Mind of a Monster, The Killer Nurse, wherever you get your podcasts.
This is your before and after story. Instead of imagining a rewarding career in medical imaging, Southeastern College can actually take you there. Prepare for a career in ultrasound, radiology, and X-ray technology with hands-on specialized training, simulations, and real-life experience with the latest imaging technology. You'll be ready to play a vital role on any healthcare team. Transform your life by helping others. Southeastern College. Your future is bright. Visit scc.edu to get started.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 433 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How about you?
I am doing very well. I'm having a great week. You know, my oldest daughter is home living with us. My youngest is coming home this weekend, so we're all going to be together, which we haven't been in a while. So I'm really looking forward to it. Let's go ahead and give our Patreon shout outs. We had Caitlin Godby.
Hey, Caitlin.
Anya Hoffman.
What's going on, Anya?
Johnny Brown.
Hey, thanks, Johnny.
Robert Phillips.
Hey, there's Robert.
Daryl.
And Daryl.
Fabiola Galindo, which is becoming one of my favorite names to say.
Oh, you like that, don't
It
you?
is so much fun to say. I love that name.
Galindo.
Maria Xiao.
Hey, Maria.
And I have said her last name maybe at least 3 different ways, 4 or 5 different ways.
You really have said it many ways.
And probably have not hit the correct one.
It's probably Chazioya.
Wow. That had 16 syllables in
Yes.
it. Shane Virgins.
Hey, virgins.
And last but not least, Nora Galan.
Ah, Galan.
And if we go back into the vault, this week we selected Michelle Starling.
Starling, like that detective, the FBI.
From Signs of the Lambs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You'll get there.
I got there.
No, you didn't get there. I finished it up for you.
Ah, come on. I was getting there.
So speaking of Patreon, we put out a brand new Patreon episode Saturday night. It's on 20-year-old Jody Loomis, who was murdered in 1972. And then decades later, actually many decades later, genetic genealogy was used to identify the killer. And we're trying something a little different here. We're not identifying the perpetrator right up front. We're leaving that a mystery to be unraveled as the episode goes along. Something we're going to be trying on TCAT more as we move forward.
Yeah.
And we also do have a new episode out on TCAT as well. It's the third and last part on Rodney Alcala. So we cover his second murder trial, his third, I think, and just this long path, right, to securing justice for the victims. And we also talk about a number of additional cases linked to him in recent years.
It was a good episode.
Yeah. And, you know, the thought behind him is these thousands of photographs that have been found, you know, just how many of these women, young boys, whoever it is, are his victims? I think it's a lot more than 8. Everyone, I think, is in agreement with that.
Absolutely.
All right, buddy. Are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved?
I am.
We were talking about the disappearance of Kayla Berg. 15-year-old Kayla Berg went missing in August 2009 after being dropped off at a condemned property by an older family friend. 16 years later, Kayla still has not been found. Kayla Mae Berg was born on August 29th, 1993. She grew up in Antigo, Wisconsin. Kayla and her older brother, Jimmy, had what was described as, just a typical small-town childhood.
Which is what you grew up in.
Yeah, I would consider myself to have had that as well. Kayla's parents, Hope and James, split up when she was a toddler. Soon after that, her dad was diagnosed with cancer. James moved back in with his parents because of his medical needs. Kayla and Jimmy visited him regularly. Although he was often sick, James was always involved in their lives. But it was painful for Kayla to see her father in and out of the hospital.
That'd be rough.
Yeah, I think it'd be very rough. When you're growing up, many kids, they kind of think their dad's invincible. And to see him at what would have been a pretty young age battle this very, horrible illness, I think that would be tough for any young kid.
Yeah.
One friend said that she believed Kayla focused so much on helping others because she couldn't help her dad. At the time of her disappearance, Kayla was a rising junior in high school. She was part of the school's gymnastics team. Kayla had been in gymnastics since she was a little girl. It was something that always made her happy. That reminds me of my youngest daughter. It wasn't gymnastics, her thing was dance. And, even at dance practice, she just always seemed happy. But especially when we would go to one of those events where she would perform with her group, she was very happy.
Dance has a way to do that. On the weekends, I'll get up on stage.
When you cut Footloose?
And I hear that, that music comes on, and man, you just can't help yourself.
But it's always nice when, someone, especially a young person, finds something that they're really passionate about. Whether that's sports or, whatever it is, playing an instrument. In June 2009, just after Kayla finished her sophomore year of high school, her mother, Hope, decided to move to Texas. Hope explained in an interview with WSAW that she's originally from Texas and moved to Wisconsin with her family when she was a teenager. Hope wanted to move to Texas for better job opportunities. Her family told her it could be a fresh start. That's quite a move. From Texas to Wisconsin, from Wisconsin to Texas. It's almost like they're two different worlds. They're certainly two different temperatures.
Yeah, the climate is for sure different.
Jimmy, who was over 18 at this point, decided to remain in Antigua with his friends. Hope said she allowed Kayla to decide if she wanted to go to Texas or stay with her dad. Kayla decided to move with her mom, but she was sad and upset about leaving her friends and gymnastics team.
And nobody likes to leave their friends.
No, it's hard, especially once you get into high school. I feel like the older you are, the harder it is to leave. According to the show Disappeared, Hope also wanted to move to Texas for Kayla's benefit. Toward the end of Kayla's sophomore year, she started missing school more often and going to parties. Around 2007, Kayla's friend Megan Zage introduced her to a group of friends in Wausau, a larger city about 40 miles from Antigo. The people in Wausau hosted parties with people of all ages, and there was underage drinking.
I mean, who hasn't been to a party with underage drinking?
Well, I know I was at a lot of parties and was underage and was drinking.
So there you go.
I'm not proud of it. I laugh about it, but I'm not proud of it.
Yeah.
I did a lot of things when I was younger that I can sit back and laugh about, but I can also look at and say, oh, I really should not have done that.
Oh, me and you both.
And I think a lot of people are like that. In the moment you think, everybody's doing it. I'm going to join in. Now looking back on it, I was like, I could have been doing so many more worthwhile things than getting drunk.
That, and you also look back and go, man, I was lucky that something didn't happen.
Oh, absolutely. Because there are a lot of times where things could have really gone badly.
Yes.
Whether we were shooting bottle rockets down the street and somebody could have turned a corner and it hit somebody. We did a lot of stupid stuff. But I could also understand, Kayla's mom thinking, all right, she's hanging out maybe with a rough crowd. She's doing things I don't want her to do. Maybe this move to Texas will be a fresh start for her as well.
Well, that's true.
According to Kayla's close friend, Natasha Zorn, at the time, it was just the highlight of what to do on the weekend. We would just go over there and we would just party till the wee hours of the morning. And again, some of that might be just growing up in a small town. To be honest with you, the place I grew up, there was not a lot to do except try to score some, alcohol and meet up at somebody's house.
Somebody was probably always raiding somebody's dad and mom's liquor cabinet.
Oh, yeah. My stepdad still talks about the fact that he knew I was replacing his rum with water, but he acted like he didn't know.
I think all the parents knew after they had a sip of that watered rum or that Coke flavored whiskey.
Yeah. Megan recalled there was a lot of lying we had to do to our parents. My parents thought I was staying at one of their houses and they thought they were staying at someone else's house. And you've told that story quite a few times, right? Of doing that. I did it. I'm sure so many people listening did it as well. There were many nights where Kayla and her friends ran from the police because the parties got busted. Several weeks after they moved, Kayla's father, James, took a turn for the worse. Kayla wanted to be there for her dad in case something happened to him. Hope and Kayla also learned that her new high school had no gymnastics team. So Hope started questioning her decision to move and ultimately decided it would be best to return to Antigua. They arrived on August 2nd, 2009. Kayla was happy to be home and immediately made plans with her friends. Hope hadn't found a place for them to live yet. She stayed with friends and Kayla stayed with her dad until she got things figured out. So they really weren't gone that long at all.
Well, I mean, the gymnastics was really important.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a big part of it. James' health taking a turn for the worse was a part of it. James's house was Kayla's home base that summer, but she spent many nights at friends' houses. Without their parents' knowledge, Kayla and her friends continued going to parties on the weekends, often getting rides from older friends. On the night of August 9th, 2011, Kayla told her mom she was spending the night with her friend Natasha. According to Natasha, they hung out with some guy friends. The next morning, Natasha's mother noticed the girls hadn't returned. She called Hope to see if she'd heard from them. Both mothers suspected the girls went to a party in Wausau. They worried the girls could have gotten in trouble, so they decided to report them missing. Nightmare for a parent, right?
Oh, man, yeah.
You think your son or daughter is over at someone's house spending the night. You get a call from that parent saying, hey, they didn't come home at all.
Yeah.
They've been gone all night. They're not here in the morning. I'm freaking the you-know-what out.
Now you're headed out looking.
Yeah, and like they did, report them missing. But as they were filling out the paperwork, they got a call letting them know Kayla and Natasha were safe. They hadn't gone to Wausau. They spent the night at an outdoor party close to home. At the time, Kayla and Natasha didn't have cell phones to contact their parents. Hope questioned Kayla about Wausau, and she admitted to going there the previous Friday to see her friends. Hope told her she couldn't go there anymore, and Kayla agreed.
Yeah, but sometimes when we were growing up, we would tell our parents basically what we thought they wanted to hear.
And you think kids nowadays don't do that?
They probably do it and do it better.
Yeah, and you say, don't do this anymore. And they're like, yeah, okay, I will not do this anymore. But yet, chances are they're probably going to do it.
Yeah.
2 days later, on August 11, 2009, Kayla called Hope to check in with her. She said she was going to spend the day at Natasha's house. According to Natasha, she and Kayla spent a couple of hours at the park before walking back to her house so she could get ready for work. Kayla's brother, Jimmy, was also at Natasha's house hanging out with her older brother. At 5 p.m., Natasha said goodbye to Kayla and left for work. Kayla stayed behind to talk to another friend who had come over, 24-year-old Kevin Kilcheski. Kevin was a friend of Jimmy and often gave the girls rides to parties. He had visited Hope's home, and she never thought anything was off about him. According to Hope, he was her older brother's friend. He'd been over to the house several times, ate dinner at her table. It wasn't like he was a stranger. You know, Kevin and Jimmy had been friends for years, so I never thought nothing of it. Now, there's a pretty big age difference here, right? This kid's 24. Kayla is 15 years old. I think the difference here is that he is a friend of her brother's, had been to the house, was known, to her mom and family. So much different than, a stranger or someone you barely know.
Yeah. But is it still okay for a 24-year-old guy to hang out with a 15-year-old?
Well, it depends in what context, right? It sounds to me like, he's over there hanging out with Jimmy, maybe. It also sounds like Natasha's place is the hangout place. I mean, there's a lot of people over there.
Yeah, I mean, as a group setting, I get it. It's Kevin, Jimmy's buddy. Just going to hang out together.
Now, if they're off alone together doing something, yeah, I would say inappropriate, right? Depending on what it is. Now, if he's just driving her to the mall and dropping her off, all right, he's just being a nice guy. But if he's trying to put the moves on a 15-year-old girl, okay, the line's been crossed. Kayla and Jimmy made plans to hang out later that evening. Kayla returned to her dad's house for a few hours. At 8:45 p.m., she called Kevin to come pick her up. After Kevin arrived, Kayla told her dad goodbye and ran out the door. The next morning, Kayla's dad, James, noticed she didn't come home. James called Kevin, who said they hung out for a while before Kayla asked to be dropped off at a friend's house. Another day passed and Kayla still didn't come home. At this time, Hope still thought Kayla was staying at a friend's house. She told Disappeared she doesn't know why she didn't double check. And, to me, that's just regret, right? After everything comes out, you're beating yourself up.
Sure you are.
Because I could have done this. Maybe I should have done that. I think that's natural in any one of these cases.
Absolutely. Why didn't I do this?
But I think here the other thing to point out is, Kayla is calling Kevin to come pick her up. I don't think there's any doubt. He was kind of the source of many of her rides, right? She's 15 years old. Here's this 24-year-old guy who can drive, has his own car, and can take me places. But now it's Thursday, August 13th. Hope had not heard from Kayla in 2 days. She decided to call James, who tried to call her the day before. James informed her that Kayla hadn't come home. Hope was worried, but because of what had happened the week before, she didn't want to panic and immediately get the police involved. Based on what James told her, she was aware that Kevin had picked Kayla up and was going to take her out. Gibbs, when we started this podcast, we had to figure everything out on our own. Where to get a logo, how to get the podcast on iTunes. Every day seemed to introduce a new decision that needed an answer. Finding the right tool that not only helps you out, but simplifies everything can be such a game changer. For millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. From household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started. And that was one of the other decisions we had to make. How to be able to offer podcast merchandise is Shopify simplified everything. Get started with your own design studio. With hundreds of ready-to-use templates, Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand style. Shopify is packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/TCAT. Go to shopify.com/TCAT. Shopify.com/TCAT.
Chicago, March 2nd, 1976. A savage double murder rocks the city. 2 young lives snuffed out in their prime. And the killer? A privileged rich kid caught within 4 days, only to walk free through a web of influence and power. For 4 years, the case gathered dust, the truth buried under the web of money, drugs, and corruption, until an unlikely hero emerged. Former rock musician turned star prosecutor who refused to let the justice slip away. Together with his determined partner, they dared to resurrect the case that Chicago forgot. Now, for the first time, step inside the investigation that brought a killer to trial. Convergence, the explosive new true crime book by Jonathan Dixon and Greg Owen from 26th Street Books. Convergence takes you deep inside one of Chicago's most shocking cases. Follow the evidence, witness the trial, see justice unfold. Convergence, available now on Amazon and wherever books are sold.
The next morning, they still hadn't heard from Kayla. Hope couldn't get a hold of Kevin, so she started calling all of Kayla's friends. Kayla's friend Beth told Hope that Kayla and Kevin came to the local McDonald's while she was working around 9:30 p.m. on August 11th. Kayla told her she and Kevin were going to drive around and smoke marijuana. Kayla said she would call Beth later that night, but she never did. Okay. When you start getting into 2-3 days, I mean, I'm freaked out at day 1.
Absolutely.
But day 2 and 3, I'm bouncing off the walls. I'm frantic. And then you start to get some information coming in drips and drabs, right? Kayla is out with Kevin. They hit the McDonald's. All right, they're driving around smoking weed. Something you shouldn't do, but they were doing it. But then she's supposed to call her friend Beth, never does. Never comes home. I mean, what's your first thought here?
Yeah, something happened to her.
Right. Now, Kevin says that he dropped her off at a friend's house, but who was that friend? Because right now, in my eyes, Kevin's not looking great.
Yeah, because typically someone's not going to say, hey, just drop me off at this house up here. It's one of my friends. You have some type of relationship here with Kevin. Clearly, he's going to know where he's dropping you off at, right? Like, drop me off at my friend's Lisa's house up here.
Yeah. And so he either did or he's coming up with a bogus story.
Sure.
There's really only 2 ways to look at it. On the 4th day, Hope talked to her son, Jimmy, who said he heard Kayla was staying with a friend that Hope hadn't yet contacted. Hope recalled that she was panicking at this point, and there was a lot of miscommunication.
Sounds like it.
Well, yeah, a lot of miscommunication for sure. I think panicking is almost an understatement. You're 4 days in to not knowing where your 15-year-old daughter is.
Yeah, I would have been panicked after day 1.
The following day, Hope learned that Jimmy was misinformed. Hope was never at that particular friend's house. And, I think this might be part of the miscommunication, right? Everyone is thinking that maybe she's this place or that place. And you have Kevin saying he dropped her at a friend's house. Maybe that's, part of it as well. Finally, Hope received a text from Kevin, who said he dropped Kayla off at her ex-boyfriend's house in Wausau. He claimed his phone died, and that was why it took him a while to respond to her text.
How long does it take to charge a phone up?
Not long to get it to the point where you can at least fire a text back. So I don't know about you, but again, Kevin, to me, he's not coming off as looking great right now at this point in the story.
Yeah.
Things don't seem to be adding up. Kayla was in an on-again, off-again relationship with a 19-year-old named Miguel. Miguel and his older brothers threw big house parties. Hope didn't approve of Kayla's relationship with the older teen, but she thought things were over between them. And we talk about age gaps quite a bit, right? And how 4 years, at that age, it's a big gap.
It is a big gap.
Now, when you're 36 years old dating a 40-year-old, that's nothing.
No.
But when you're 13, 14, 15 dating someone who's 4 years older than you, it's a considerable gap.
Well, there's that maturity level, right?
There can also be the legality of it.
And the legality is a big issue.
Hope pushed Kevin for answers. She asked where exactly he dropped Kayla off, but he claimed he couldn't remember because there were a lot of one-way streets in Wausau. So Kevin is telling a lot of stories, but he's not remembering some things.
Yeah.
He doesn't return a text for days because his cell phone died. Some of that stuff's kind of hard to believe. Now, one thing I've learned is kids that age, and I'll call him a kid, even though he's 24 years old, but kids in their early 20s, late teens, they are terrible at returning texts.
That is true.
Many of them.
Very true.
My family included.
I was going to say, my son is not the best text returner.
And, a lot of times you can tell whether it's read or not. Sometimes they go 3, 4, 5 days without being read.
Exactly. Well, that or they don't have us on read.
Oh, that could be too. See, we're not tech savvy enough.
Yeah.
They are tech savvy and they know how to get around
That's
us.
right. I don't want mom or dad or whoever to know that I read their text. So I'll just uncheck that little thing and yeah.
But you can be sure if they need money, they're texting.
I love you, son, but just answer text quicker, please.
But I really want to talk about this situation that Hope is in. I mean, obviously she's out of her mind, frantic about where Kayla can be. She's getting kind of a mismatch of different stories. You have Kevin, you have Miguel, even her son Jimmy tells a story that later turns out not to be correct. Now, I don't think he did that on purpose.
Yeah.
He just had wrong information. But she's getting a ton of information and a lot of it is conflicting. Hope called Miguel, but he said Kayla never came to his house and he hadn't seen her recently. So on August 17, 2011, Hope reported her daughter missing.
I mean, your head has to be spinning.
Yeah, this is also 6 days after Kayla disappeared. And I think some people will look at that as way too long, waiting way too long. I mean, you never want to bash the family. But even Hope herself later told WSAW that she blames herself for how the first few days of Kayla's disappearance were handled.
They always say 48 hours is the critical time, right?
Yeah. And I'm sure she looks back on it and says, I should have made the call earlier. But again, in these situations, there's always something that people can look at and say, I wish I'd have done this differently. I wish I had done this or I hadn't done this. Kevin was one of the first people police spoke to. And I don't know how he couldn't be, right? He is essentially, as far as it being confirmed, the last one to be with her.
Yeah, so you need to talk to him and figure out, what does he really know?
Well, he's told some conflicting stories, right? I dropped her off at a friend's house. That changed to I dropped her off at Miguel's house. Miguel says she never showed up here. I never saw her. He told police he drove around with Kayla and dropped her off at Miguel's house on Highway 52 in Wausau around 10:30 p.m. He didn't watch Kayla enter the home, but he did see that the house was dark inside and no one else was around.
Okay. Well, I dropped her off. The house was dark. Nobody was around, so I felt comfortable leaving her there.
And I just took off.
I mean, who even does that?
So that seems strange. But there was another big problem with Kevin's statement. Miguel no longer lived in this house because it had recently been condemned. Kayla knew Miguel no longer lived there because she'd gone to a party at his new house the week before she went missing. So, that kind of puts an even greater focus on Kevin because maybe he doesn't have this information. And so he knew where Miguel used to live.
And tossed that out there.
But there's no way that Kayla would have said, drop me off here, when she knew the house was condemned and Miguel didn't live there any longer. So, the red flags are just popping up all over around this Kevin guy. Investigators and Kayla's mother doubted that she would have asked to be dropped off at an abandoned property at night. And there's no actual proof. Kayla made it to Wausau. There's really only Kevin's statement. Kevin was also the only one of Kayla's friends who knew about her supposed plan to visit Miguel. And, what do you make of that? It seems to me as though Kayla was pretty close with her friends. She talked to them on a pretty regular basis. Would she not have told someone that she had plans to go visit Miguel that night? I think the likelihood is pretty good that she would have.
I think so too. So then what does that mean? Does that mean Kevin's not being honest?
It could. It definitely could. The Antigo police asked the Wausau police to talk to Miguel. He maintained that he hadn't seen Kayla since the week prior. He allowed the police to check his house. An officer saw no evidence Kayla had been there. There was also no evidence anyone had been inside the condemned property. Police initially believed Kayla was with friends who were withholding her whereabouts, but after 3 days, Kayla's case was elevated from runaway status to endangered missing child. And I wonder how much of that had to do with kind of what the two girls had done the week before.
Yeah, I think that's probably why they treated the case initially that way.
If police knew about that, they're like, okay, they have a history of staying out all night and then they're doing whatever, partying, and then all of a sudden they show up.
But if you think about it, it took Hope 6 days to report her missing, and then the police kind of treat it more like a runaway for a few more days. Now they're saying this is a missing person.
Yeah, but we're like 9 days, right?
Yeah.
In the 6 plus the 3. On August 26th, the police released photos to the media. Based on credible sightings close to home, there was a report. Kayla was seen at a local Walmart. Security footage showed a young woman resembling Kayla getting out of a Ford Taurus and then leaving a short time later in a black truck. However, Hope viewed the footage and determined it wasn't Kayla. And we often talk about, the roller coaster ride of emotions for parents and loved ones. I'm just imagining what Hope was going through. Number one, hearing all these different things, finding out that, that some of them weren't true. Now you've got Kayla possibly on security footage. So she has to go view it. And she determines that, no, it's not Kayla, but, this up and down of, oh, we might know where she is, then it's proven that no, she's not there. That has to be just an unbelievably tough situation.
Yeah, I think it had to be. Am I the only one also wondering, who got out of the Ford Taurus and why did they get into a black truck? What's going on there?
Right. If it wasn't Kayla who did that, I have no idea. Maybe they took an Uber there and then got another Uber back.
Maybe.
2 different cars. There were many rumors about what happened to Kayla. Several people claimed they saw her after she went missing. Another rumor was that Kayla was pregnant and a person in Wausau was angry and killed her. But Kayla's friends didn't think Miguel would harm her. It seemed like they were planning on getting back together. Kayla told her friend Natasha they were talking again, and she had spent a couple of nights at his home. Natasha told Disappeared he was really nice towards Kayla, and back then, that's what every girl wanted. They wanted their fairy tale, and that's almost what it kind of seemed like. And that's interesting to me because, a really good friend, you would think would know what the relationship is like. Now, it's one thing to see the couple together. That can be misleading.
Sure.
But if this is your really good friend, she's probably telling you what the relationship is really like.
Yeah.
So odds are he probably was treating her, pretty good. Investigators conducted an extensive search across the street from the condemned house where there was a lake. A cadaver dog gave an indication at a nearby pond. A dive team searched the water but found nothing. And I'm always curious about these cadaver dogs, indicating. What does that mean? Does it mean that at one point there was a dead body there that was then later moved?
Or something that seemed like a dead body? I don't know.
They're supposed to be pretty specific, I thought, about human cadavers. But I'm sure they can make mistakes. With no proof that Miguel or anyone else saw Kayla in Wausau, the police worked to verify Kevin's timeline. Kevin repeatedly told the police he went home after dropping Kayla off at 10:30 p.m. Kevin lived about an hour away in Deerbrook with his parents. His mother confirmed his alibi that he was home around midnight. All the alibi from the mother.
The good old mom alibi.
Yeah, and I don't want to disparage it too much because a lot of times it's truthful. But again, would a mother lie to protect her son? And I do think there are some who would.
Yeah. A parent in general.
I think you have to, at the very least, be skeptical. Is there something else other than, just the word of the mother that helps prove it? But many times there's not. It's just somebody's word that a person was with them or they were, at home all night. But there's no doubt that police are looking at Kevin, right? And we know why. We've talked about it. So Kevin eventually hired an attorney on October 26, 2009. Kevin was charged with reckless endangerment because he smoked marijuana with a minor. He pleaded not guilty. He faced up to 10 years in prison if convicted.
Well, that seems pretty hefty.
That's a hefty sentence when you and I are talking about sexual crimes against women, very brutal sexual crimes committed in, the 70s, let's say. And somebody gets a couple of years.
Yeah.
4 years. This guy's possibly getting 10 years for smoking with a minor. I'm not downplaying it because that's not a good thing to do.
It's not, but it just seems it's not balanced.
No, it's not balanced. It's also a different time.
That's true too.
That has a lot to do with it. The Antigo police hoped filing charges would push those who knew what happened to Kayla to come forward. Miguel was also still on the police's radar. Investigators searched both men's cars and Kevin's parents' home in Deerbrook. Some points of interest were found in Kevin's car. Samples were taken and submitted to the crime lab. Police sprayed luminol in Miguel's car and identified areas of interest. A portion of the carpet was removed from the trunk, but nothing important came from the testing. What stinks about that is that, they're giving you back what? The piece of carpet and saying, here you go.
Yeah.
Now your whole trunk's jacked up. Now, to me, that's a small price to pay to find out that, you don't have any evidence indicating you were involved in this, but you still got to get that fixed probably.
Yeah. I always wondered, they show those border crossing shows. I forget the name of them.
Is it called border crossing?
Maybe.
I have no idea because I don't know which ones you're talking about.
But it's always where they got to tear the vehicle apart.
Oh, yeah.
And I just wonder, because sometimes they don't find anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, so do you just throw everything in the trunk and say good luck to you? Or
I don't even think they throw it in. I think they're just like, hey, pick your shit up and get out of here.
Yeah.
It's like when they do a search warrant at your house and they turn the whole house upside down. They don't put it back together.
Well, that's true.
They just leave.
Yeah.
And you're left to pick up the pieces.
Like, thanks.
Whether you're guilty or not. The results from Kevin's car also came back negative a few weeks later. Police didn't comment further on the nature of the evidence. Before releasing the cars, the police brought in a cadaver dog to search the two vehicles. Kevin and Miguel's cars were placed in a line of 10 vehicles. The dog indicated interest in one of the cars, Kevin's. Now, this was suspicious, but there was no proof the scent of human remains was tied to Kayla or left in the car while Kevin was operating it, according to the police.
All right.
Well, there's a couple of things for me here. Number one, the fact that you don't find something, some type of evidence in someone's car, to me doesn't really mean a whole lot, because the crime could have committed outside of the car.
Very true.
He already admitted she was in the car, right, during the night. Now, if you did find blood or something like that, then you got something to work with. But the absence of it doesn't, really clear someone. Now, a cadaver dog hitting on your car, all right, it doesn't look good, but what does it mean?
And that's it, right? It doesn't really mean anything at this point because they don't really have anything to go on.
Well, for one thing, they can't even prove that Kayla is dead. So, I think that's a big deal when it comes to that.
But I wonder, if you're Kevin, do you piss yourself when you see the dog hitting on your car?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Well, especially if you have something to hide.
Oh, that's true.
Investigators subpoenaed cell phone records from Kayla's friends and family. Cell phone activity confirmed that Kevin and Kayla talked before he picked her up. Shortly after Kevin's last call to Kayla, around 9 p.m., his phone was either shut off or the battery died, making it untraceable. It wasn't used again until after 2 p.m. the following day. However, the record showed Kevin had done this in the past, not just on the date Kayla disappeared.
Done what in the past? Let his cell phone die?
Or shut it off. Yeah, it seemed like he must have had a pattern of doing that. But it doesn't look good, right? When you shut your phone down or let the battery die, making the phone untraceable at the time when somebody who was in your car goes missing and can't be found.
It just doesn't take that long to charge your phone up.
No, but, there's either a very innocent explanation for it or a nefarious one.
Yeah.
But the one thing that you would have to say, again, is that there's just a lot of things popping up around Kevin that would make police very suspicious of him. Now, not anything that really proves anything, and I think that's the problem. Miguel's records confirmed he and Kayla didn't talk on the day she went missing. However, investigators found an old phone registered to Miguel that pinged off a tower about 40 miles north of Wausau in Lincoln County. The ping occurred about 3 hours after Kevin said he dropped Kayla off. 2 short calls were received. An investigator told Disappeared there was no conversation. Police searched this area, but they didn't find anything. And I don't even know what you make of that. First of all, he's got a new phone and then an older phone. But that night he's using the older phone and he's about 40 miles north of, where he lives.
Seems a little strange.
It does. The Antigo police asked Miguel for an interview, but he denied their request. He felt he was being harassed by the police. On March 29, 2010, the National Guard flew over areas of interest with thermal imaging, but no abnormalities were found. In May 2011, a cadaver dog was brought to Antigo to search woods and fields. The dog found items of interest on Kevin's parents' property and a potato farm where he worked. Sergeant Dan Dooley told WSAW there was no indication Kayla was on the property, but he wouldn't say what the items of interest were. And that's always the, tough thing in these unsolved cases. There's little teasers.
Yeah.
We found something of interest, but we can't tell you what it is. Okay, that's not helping us. I understand why the police don't do it, but it's not helping us to get a better understanding of what's going on here. WSAW filed an open records request in 2016 related to the property search, but their request was denied. On July 22nd, 2011, the charges against Kevin Kilchasky were dismissed due to a lack of evidence. Kevin maintains that all he did was drop Kayla off and that he has nothing to do with her disappearance.
What else is he going to say?
No, but I also get why they dropped the charges. I mean, there's some smoke here. We've talked about it, but there's not enough to, take this case forward.
Yeah, can't pursue it.
No, there's not enough evidence. They'd never get a conviction.
Yeah. So.
And they shouldn't prosecute with the little evidence that they have.
No, you're talking about somebody's life here, right? I mean,
yeah, you're going to need more than that. In October 2016, Wisconsin authorities asked the public for help in determining the origin of a disturbing YouTube video. The video was titled, "Hi, Walter, I got a new girlfriend today." The video shows a man talking to the camera about his new girlfriend, then shows a female who appears to be bound crying in a bathroom. The video was posted on October 11, 2009, exactly 2 months after Kayla went missing. It didn't attract much attention until it went viral in 2016. It became the focus of multiple other videos and posts trying to analyze or debunk the video. The video had over 900,000 views on YouTube before it was taken down. And that's pretty interesting because it was up there for 7 years before it really went viral.
It's a long time for it to be up. That's a lot of views. I wonder if or how many people reached out to authorities and say, hey, this is kind of scary and maybe you guys should look into it.
Yeah, I don't know. Do people see something on YouTube and reach out to authorities, or do they reach out to YouTube and say, this should be taken down?
Yeah.
This is nasty or inappropriate or whatever. I don't know.
Or do they now just assume that it's fake and,
right,
somebody trying to just get
views for, and that is their real girlfriend. They're playing along.
Yeah.
I think some people might think that and think, well, I can't call the cops because they're just playing around. In October 2006, one blog was posted on the social media site Imgur, attempting to make a connection to the Kayla Berg case. Kayla's mother, Hope Springer, watched the video. She told WAOW TV that the girl sounded like Kayla, looked like her. It gave me chills. Antigo Police Chief Eric Roller told the AP he was made aware of the video through a citizen tip. Roller said, there are some similarities. It could be real and it could be staged. We have to take it seriously. So there's your point, Gibbs. Somebody did call in. A citizen called in to the police chief and said, hey, you should take a look at it. Yeah. And he's absolutely right. It could be real. It could be fake, but you have to take it seriously.
I would think so.
On October 11th, the Antigo Police Department announced that the video was fake, and authorities had identified the cameraman, actor, and actress. The video had no connection to the disappearance of Kayla Berg.
There you go. Someone just trying to get famous by getting views, likes.
Yeah, and that is kind of sad to do it that way, right? If you could come up with some good content, funny content, interesting content, okay, I get that. But that's pretty disturbing to have someone bound and crying.
Yeah.
The video was made on the East Coast. The people who made the video also had no idea. They were at the center of an investigation. According to Chief Eric Roller, they felt sorry for her doing what they did and didn't realize the implications that everything led to by their actions. And I'm sure that's true. I don't think it was the right thing to do, but I'm sure they didn't realize the ramifications having to do with this girl's disappearance. Kayla's mother, Hope, later told WSAW, that was horrifying. I guess the only benefit that I did get out of that was worldwide coverage. Her name went worldwide real quick. Other than that, it was a nightmare, just a living nightmare.
There you go. She's trying to find a little bit of silver lining in that.
Well, yeah, because, she's been asked to look at multiple videos, right? The first one, she said, no, this is not my daughter. But this one, she said, you know what? It sounds like her.
Yeah.
It could be her. Again, back to that emotional roller coaster. In October 2019, a search was done in the Nicollet National Forest in eastern Langlade County related to the Kayla Berg case. The area was chosen based on information gathered during the investigation, but nothing was found. In December 2023, police received a tip from a Wisconsin inmate that led to a search in Kewaunee County, about 100 miles east of Antigo. Crews first used dogs in the initial search and then conducted a dig, but again, nothing was found. And unfortunately, we say that quite a bit in unsolved episodes, right? Police get a tip. They act on that tip, but unfortunately, nothing is found.
Yeah. Disappointing.
It has to be disappointing every time. Hope Springer agreed to an interview with WSAW in 2025, her first in years. Hope said, I have a lot of different things that go through my head. If it's dealing with Kevin, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't know. Maybe he gave her something else and she OD'd and he panicked. I can't see her just letting him drop her off at an abandoned house where it's dark. She's afraid of the dark. It made no sense to me. That's why I need to know. I mean, in the back of my mind, I wonder, well, could have been a case where he actually did drop her off and somebody else picked her up. She added later in her interview, something definitely went wrong. Something happened. I would really like some closure. I would really like to know what happened to my daughter. And I feel for her.
I do too.
Absolutely, I do. But you can tell, based on some of the things that she told this outlet, she, at the very least, has some suspicion of Kevin. Right? You can pick that up pretty easily.
Well, look, Kevin was the last person known to be with Kayla. So he's going to be questioned a lot.
And he also gave some conflicting stories, or stories that turned out to be not true. Now, could some of that have been because he was smoking weed with a 15-year-old girl in his car? Maybe. And he knew that he would get in trouble and he didn't want to get in trouble. But it could also be that he had something to do with whatever happened to Kayla. We can't say that, but you can theorize it.
Yeah.
Many people have been interviewed, but no one has ever been directly charged with Kayla's disappearance. The police have also not ruled out any persons of interest. Kayla Berg is described as a 5'2" white female with brown eyes. At the time of her disappearance, she had brown hair and weighed 108 pounds. Her ears and navel are pierced. She has scars on the right side of her nose and her right shin. You can view an aged progressed photo of Kayla on the NCMEC website. If you have any information on Kayla's whereabouts, you can call the Antigo Police Department at 715-627-6411. So Gibbs, as we wrap up this episode, from the information, and it's limited, right, that we have, I think there's two people that, many look at as possibly having something to do with Kayla's disappearance. Kevin's in the mix for sure. You see that online a lot.
Yeah.
Miguel, even though it appears as though the police have kind of ruled him out, outside of the strange kind of second cell phone, who knows what that's all about. It just doesn't make sense to me that Kayla would ask Kevin to drop her off at this abandoned house that she knows Miguel doesn't live at anymore.
Doesn't add up.
That part doesn't add up at all. It almost makes it seem as though Kevin knew where Miguel lived, but didn't know that the property had been condemned and that he had moved when he gave the police that story and hoped that story.
Yeah.
But what does that mean? If he is lying, again, did he have something to do with her disappearance? Was he simply trying to cover up, the smoking of weed? I just don't know. I don't want to drag a guy's name through the mud if he didn't have anything to do with it.
Right.
What I will say online, though, is that a lot of people are very suspicious of him. I will say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think he probably knows that.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you're the last person with somebody and some of your stories didn't add up, it's going to happen.
But I do feel as though this is one that we're eventually going to figure out what happened to Kayla. Now, I don't know how it's going to happen. One big thing I think would be to find her remains if she's deceased, because that could possibly provide some evidence.
Yeah.
Even the location could potentially provide some evidence.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Based on some of the cell phone data that they have and the timing and all of that. But, I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
And just hope that they eventually solve it.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's it for our episode on Kayla Berg. We got a voicemail. You want to check that out?
Let's hear it.
Hi, Mike and Gibby. This is Victoria from New York. How are you guys? I just want to let you know that you guys do a phenomenal job. You're my favorite podcast in the true crime world, so thank you. But I also have to beg to differ as a New Yorker. Going out all night, staying out all night without your husband knowing where you are is definitely high risk behavior, without a doubt. As a New Yorker, that is definitely high risk behavior. So you were wrong on that one. Maybe over there where you're from, not high risk, but here it is. All right. Thank you so much. Keep your own time ticking.
Yo, hey, Victoria, how you doing?
No, I think it's high risk if you're out on the street. But and maybe I didn't get my point across or your point or whoever made the point. But I think if you went home with someone, I mean, yeah, there's risk to that.
Yeah.
But they made it seem like it was high risk because she went home with a woman. I think that's the point we were trying to say. Like, I didn't see how that was any more high risk than going home with anyone else.
I gotcha.
Now, if you're just walking around the street
yeah,
in New York City, I would call that high risk.
Absolutely.
In the middle of the night.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
I mean, I'll do it. I'll walk around the streets of New York.
Okay. Nobody's asking you to. Nobody's paying you to. So you're doing that on your...
I was hoping for,
You're doing that on your own dime.
Oh, well, yeah, about how I feel about doing things
right,
on my own
because that's going to cost you money to get there. You're going to have to get accommodations, meals.
But they probably appreciate my accent up there, my New York accent.
I don't think they would appreciate anything about you.
No? Zero? No. Zip?
No.
Nada? Okay. Victoria, you going to back me up on this at all?
Now, Victoria might, because she's a fan of the show. But just a New Yorker who doesn't know who you are?
She probably was a fan of the show until I did, yo, how you doing?
I don't think that's going to make her stop listening to the show, but who knows? Who knows? All right, buddy. That is it for another episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
September, CBS hits are streaming free on Pluto TV.
I'm coming in hot.
For this month only, stream full episodes of Matlock.
I'm a lawyer, like the old TV show.
Fire Country, Elsbeth.
I do love a mystery.
NCIS Origins, Watson, and Ghosts.
What the hell?
This is the most amazing sight I've never seen.
All for free. The CBS shows you love, this month only on Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.